Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities. Welcome back to another comic book review. And today's comic book review is none other than Men of War. So, what is Men of War about? Well, it's about a soldier who refuses to become a colonel. He refuses to go up the ranks, and he refuses to move on to any other regiment and boss people around. Instead, he prefers to work amongst his men and be a fellow man. All the colonels in the office begin to lecture him on this, basically trying to say that he's weak, trying to call him a bit of a sissy. And this this soldier is not taking that. He points out the fact that he's stayed so close to camp. One, because his mother is very ill and he knows that the camp isn't that far away from where she is in her uh, breathing apparatus. And two, he doesn't believe that he is any higher or any mightier than any of his fellow soldiers. The colonels then stick him on a mission to pretty much do an extraction in which he must go with all of his men and hopefully extract an individual who has been taken under hostage by a terrorist organization. But when they land in the country, they find that something else is at foot. It turns out that a man at the speed of a bullet has gone breaking through the city and causing absolute chaos. Buildings are crumbling, people are dying, and the soldiers must do their very best to get into the city illegally, because they're not supposed to be in the country, without causing a mass riot amongst the locals. Once in the city, they come under fire and end up at constant range with the enemy. They don't know what to do, but they know that whatever they must do, they must take them out without being noticed. A lot of soldiers die, and an extraction team is sent in after them in hopes that hopefully they will be able to catch up with whoever's left and has survived. The corporal slash colonel slash soldier who doesn't want to be in charge is left by himself with two other soldiers. Upon going in with his extraction team to look further for the guy they're looking for, they end up at point blank with a woman holding a gun. This woman is very scared and, of course, has only been given this gun by a terrorist in hopes that she will be able to pretty much risk her own life in hopes of destroying the enemy. But after her cowardice and putting down the gun, she finds herself at point blank, in which a higher up part of the organization grabs her by the neck and holds a gun to her head. That is pretty much where this comic book, or at least this issue, ends. So, what did I think of Men of War? Well, personally, I love it. Why? Because it perfectly represents a situation which has happened in our own world. Many years ago, there was the Afghan War and there was the war in Syria, and there's been numerous events with Taliban and people like that, and I feel like this comic book perfectly illustrates the point which they all are supposed to get at. You've got to remember the difference between the terrorists and the people in the country who are pretty much afraid and are being indoctrinated into a situation which may mean they either risk their life or get killed in the process by accident. There's many soldiers in this comic book that pretty much are very willing to just open fire on any civilian or anyone who comes into the room. But our main protagonist, the one that we are connected to, is very against this. He's very sure of himself when he goes into battle situations, and he's very sure that you can't just jump the gun and assume that everyone is a target, because once you do that, you either kill a civilian or you also get yourself killed. And the way that this comes across in the comic book is so brilliantly put that I really enjoyed finding him pretty much being the down to earth soldier that's very relatable. Saying this, though, there's only one problem I have with Men of War, The situation between the extraction is fine. The situation between the soldiers and the civilians and the terrorists is fine. The only thing I think really detracted and made it difficult for me, maybe just because this is issue one, but I found it very hard to focus when I'm being detracted away from the danger and the hurt of the soldiers by a man who's most probably either Superman or some other superhero or someone with the power of flight exploding the city within minutes. Now, I get it. For the reader, for people who love comic books, this is perfect if it was done in a film because at least it keeps the audience gripped. But as a comic book, I really feels like it detracted away from the main issue that the story was trying to get at. These are soldiers, these are people, these are individuals. They're not toys. They're not cannon fodder. They're not just people you can just chuck into a war zone and not think about. These are people you really should be considering. And the fact that they've gone into a war zone in the first place, or gone into a country and have had to deal with this situation, that is what annoys me in this story, is the fact that they're not given as much time as maybe they needed. I feel like, yes, you could have still had the speeding bullet situation somewhere in the comic book, but if that had been later rather than sooner, it would have been a little bit better. And for that reason, that's why I have to mark this comic book down to a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next comic book review. Until then, stay beautiful, you gorgeous people.